All right, let's talk about a little secret that successful companies absolutely hate sharing. They all have a growth story, but there's always one chapter they kind of skip over. And that's the part about how many of their shiny new customers were actually stolen directly from their biggest competitors. This is all about customer switching. And believe me, it's one of the most guarded secrets in the business world. I mean, it seems like a pretty basic question, right? But if you ever look at a company's earnings report, you'll see all this talk about growth, but almost nothing about where that growth is actually coming from. See, they don't want you or their competitors to know just how much of their success is built on someone else failing to keep their customers happy. So, why all the secrecy? Well, it's simple. This data is basically a secret playbook. Telling the world that, say, 60% of your new customers just ditched competitor X, that's like handing your rival your entire strategy on a silver platter. It shows them exactly where they're weak and how you're taking advantage of it. So, yeah, they keep that information locked down tight. And because it's such a secret, for decades, if you were a consultant or a strategist trying to figure this stuff out, well, it was a super frustrating, really expensive guessing game. This was the old way, the slow way. I mean, the traditional toolkit was pretty limited. You could, manually interview a dozen or so customers, try to piece together clues from win/loss reports, or maybe you'd commission a huge, expensive market research study. The problem is, every single one of these methods is slow, it costs a fortune, and it only gives you a tiny, tiny peek at the big picture. And this comparison chart, wow, it really says it all. We are talking 6 to 8 weeks of work, costing you maybe $25,000, all just to get answers that barely scratch the surface. Now look at the other side, the new way. 20 minutes for about $100, and you get insights into the deep emotional reasons people make choices. The difference is just, it's staggering. And that right there is the most important part. A customer might tell a surveyor they switched for better features, but that's just the easy answer. It's the tip of the iceberg. Those old methods, they completely miss the months of built-up frustration, the feeling of being ignored, that one tiny little incident that finally became the last straw. They miss the real why. So what if you could actually get past all those surface-level excuses and see what's really going on underneath? Well, this is where the entire game changes, and it's all thanks to the AI revolution that's happening in research right now. At the heart of this whole revolution is something called an AI persona. Okay, so imagine a perfect digital simulation of your ideal customer, or maybe even a customer who just left you for a competitor. These things aren't just simple chatbots. We're talking about complex digital models built from huge amounts of data. And they can mimic human decision-making with about 85% accuracy. It is literally like having thousands of your customers on call, ready to talk 24/7. So a platform like Atypica uses these personas in three really powerful ways. First, the AI analyzes huge patterns of behavior to figure out why people are switching. Second, it can actually interview hundreds of these personas, or real people, at a massive scale. And third, you can run competitive simulations, basically asking, what would my customers do if my competitor did this? And this is the kind of mind-blowing insight you get. This is a direct quote from an AI persona analysis. The customer didn't just say they wanted a better interface. No, they felt embarrassed. They felt like the tool was making their whole company look bad. That is a deep, powerful, emotional trigger that you would never find in a multiple choice survey. Okay, so this all sounds amazing in theory, right? But let's look at a real-world example of how this plays out. Let's dive into a case study about a consulting firm that was trying to understand customer switching for a B2B software company. So here was the situation. The client knew they were winning new customers, but they had no idea about the real reasons people were abandoning the biggest, most established player in the market to come over to them. They needed to find that secret sauce, that hidden motivation. Now, traditionally, a project like this would have taken them a full 8 weeks. But with this new AI-powered approach, it took just 20 minutes. I mean, think about that. 8 weeks of work done in less time than it takes to watch an episode of your favorite show. The speed is just, it's almost hard to believe. And the cost for that old 8-week project? A cool $25,000. That cost became just $108. That's a 99% cost reduction. It just completely changes the economics of how you get these deep customer insights. And here it is. Here's the million-dollar insight they uncovered. The reason people were leaving wasn't really about the price itself. It was about feeling undervalued. As this AI persona said, they felt taken for granted when brand new customers were getting better deals than they were after 3 years of loyalty. Now, that's an insight you can actually do something with. You can build a whole new retention strategy around that one emotional truth. So, when you put this all together, what does it really mean? It means you now have what feels like a new, almost unfair advantage in understanding your market and your customers. The advantages are just so clear. First, you've got incredible speed. You get that deep behavioral understanding, the real why. You can analyze tons of different customer segments at the same time instantly, without it costing more. And the AI even helps you make sense of it all by applying strategic frameworks to the data automatically. And this is really the key takeaway here. The whole paradigm has shifted. Winning today isn't about collecting more data on what customers say. It's about finally understanding the deep, hidden, emotional reasons why they feel and act the way they do. And that really leaves us with one final, fascinating thought. With this kind of power, where you can get right to the heart of any customer decision, what would be the very first question you would ask?